Hello, thanks for joining me. My name is Ema Royal, and this is Astro Yoga. What is Astro Yoga exactly? Well, it is a combination of yoga, which is embodied movement with breath, merging with the night sky, and using the archetypes of what's going on currently in the night sky. We can activate these archetypes within ourselves. That which is above is below. So currently in the night sky, we're about to approach the new moon. And what's significant about new moons is it's a excellent time to set new intentions. It's a very powerful and potent time to start your new beginnings for that new cycle, the new lunar cycle. When you set your intentions, think about setting it in the now rather than future tense. Think about presently and think about feelings of gratitude. This will start to manifest at a more powerful and accelerated level. When you're thinking about setting intentions in the future, I would like to be more fit, and you're always pushing that off to the future. So using the moon cycles in the moon salutations, you start to get that receptive energy of what the universe is telling you. And what's significant about this new moon is it is in Aries. The sun is in Aries and the moon will be joining Aries. And Aries is about this bold, vibrant, initiating energy, about exploration of new frontiers. So think about the themes that we're going through collectively. So this is the first new moon since the spring equinox, and spring equinox is also an Aries energy. And this is going to be that activating energy that under that umbrella of that Saturn Jupiter conjunction in Aquarius, which is setting that stage for the age of Aquarius. So think about how you can envision your life and your values and your goals moving forward. And with this new moon, we also have Venus, Moon, Sun. And it's going to be squaring that Pluto and Capricorn energy that we felt last year during the onset of COVID and the lockdowns. And so it's sort of rebelling against that hierarchical top-down structure. And we're really trying to find what are individual voices and what's good for the collective. So think about areas that your voice may not be heard, or what feels unjust, or what needs to speak out, and what is in alignment with yourself and thinking about universal and collective values. So the components of yoga, most people are familiar with sun salutations, and the sun center is activated in your heart center. And moon salutations is another layer that you can add, and that activates the third eye. This is that receptive energy. So the activating and the receptive energy. And we're going to overlay the third component of Mercury, which is your connection to the universe, to the higher self. So if you just want to kind of sense what that is, we all have that connection. So just kind of settle in. Find yourself nice and rooted and grounded with the earth. Extend your spine long. And relax your shoulders and soften your jaw. And just allow your breath to flow. Now, as you connect to your heart and sense that area between your brows, and then move up through the top of your head. Maybe you might feel a warm sensation or a tingling. And at the top of your crown. And if you don't sense anything, that's okay. Just through your intention, see if you can just call your higher self in. It might be floating out there somewhere. You want that here with you now. And we're going to use this throughout our practice together. Now begin to tune into your breath. And we're going to take full yogic breaths by expanding our bellies and filling our lungs from the bottom up, breathing into your side body, up through your chest, and all the way up to your collarbones. And now hold for a brief moment. And then exhale your breath as slowly as you can. Maybe using that exaggerating ah breath, that sound that you make out the back of your throat. Then pausing at the bottom of the exhale. And then begin the cycle all over again, taking in that nice, deep, full breath, beginning from the bottom of the side body, and up through your chest and your collarbones. And just continue in this manner on your own. And throughout your practice, think about anchoring to your breath as your guide or your monitor at how you're doing in your practice. Yoga is about that inward journey. It's not about getting to some complicated poses. It's more about that experience of really meeting yourself. All those spaces that you're sending prana through the vehicle of your breath. It will tell you if you're pushing yourself too hard or if you need to engage more or give yourself more of a challenge or a push. Your breath, if it feels tight or constricted, where can you relax or loosen up to send more prana? See if you can notice if the quality of your breath, if it's more high up on your chest, tight and constricted, or as you allow space, taking in those deep breaths. And if you're able to exaggerate through the back of your throat, making that sound out at the back of your throat, this will be an audible reminder that you're breathing. So let's start with a warm-up. Starting out on all fours, hands and knees, placing your wrists below your shoulders and your knees below your hips. And we'll come into a cat and cow pose. Inhaling, extending your tailbone, broadening your chest, tilting your head up. And then exhaling the opposite direction for cat pose. Arching your back. Maybe coming down into child's pose. And then inhaling up for kneeling prayer, extending your arms overhead. Exhaling, hands to heart. And then coming into gate pose on the right side, extending your left arm. Extending it, extending your left leg, seeing if you can breathe through your side body. Then coming back to all fours, hands and knees. Extend your right arm long and your opposite leg, your left leg, opposite leg and arm lift. See if you can stabilize through your pelvis, finding your neutral spine. And as you exhale, draw your elbow and knee together. And then inhale to extend. And we're going to do everything we just did on the opposite side. Inhaling for cow. Exhale for cat. Coming into child's pose. Inhaling for kneeling prayer. Exhaling, hands to heart. Coming to gate pose on the right side. On the left side, extending your right arm overhead, your right leg long. Breathing through your side body. Coming to all fours, hands and knees. Extending your left arm long and your right leg, your opposite leg. finding your neutral spine. On the exhale, begin to curl your elbow into your knee. And then inhale to extend. And we're going to just continue this dynamic movement at your own pace using your breath. And if you somehow forget the order of the movements, just use your intuition as a guide to complete your movements. This warm-up is just getting the synovial fluids moving through your joints and your spine, sending the breath, starting to wake things up. See if you can notice that audible sound through the back of your throat. Just really tuning into where you're at this time and space. And then we're going to complete one more round on each side. Going as slow or as fast as you like, using your breath as a vehicle. And when you've completed both sides, coming down to child's pose. Just using this time to check in with yourself. And from child's pose, just sense your connection between your brows, maybe kind of activating that center, maybe rolling your forehead a little bit. This is your moon center. And see if you can sense your breath through your back body. Child's pose is always a place to come to at any point of your practice if you need time to reset. We're going to begin to come into our first downward facing dog. To prepare for this, begin to expand your fingertips, spreading them well, and place the emphasis onto the pads of your fingertips. Begin to tuck your toes and start to lift your knees and raise your hips, extending your back. And maybe keeping your knees bent well at first, pedaling your heels, starting to loosen your hamstrings, using your breath. Maybe creating some movement through your hips, And then on the next inhale, begin to look forward, bending your knees, and start to walk towards the front of your mat. Coming into a standing forward fold, resting your chest onto your thighs and bending your knees well so that your neck can hang long. See if you can release the tension out your shoulders and your neck with each exhale. Just letting all the tension go with each exhale. Maybe grabbing opposite elbows. Maybe swaying side to side if that feels good. Rocking your head back and forth. Or up and down. Just sensing your head as weightless. And we're going to start to roll up into standing position, one vertebrae at a time. And from standing pose, this is your foundation of all the standing poses, mountain pose. So think about the foundation of your feet. This is your connection to earth. And think about all four corners of your feet connecting to your mat. And if you tend to be more inverted, you might need to exaggerate the outer sides of your feet. Or if you tend to be more everted, you might need to place more emphasis in the insides of your feet. So just sense what that is for yourself. See if you can feel equally rooted through your feet. Next, traveling up through your strong legs. And then engaging through your hips here. See if you can activate this root lock. So it's kind of a drawing down of energy. This is going to ground you further. And next, concentrating on your belly. This is your Uddiyana. And this is going to activate your center, your core. So if I was going to walk up to you, I wouldn't be able to knock you off balance if you were anchored in your core. Next, broadening your shoulders. And then concentrate on your neck. In our culture, we tend to be hunched over at desks or at our computers, or maybe forward on our phones texting. If this is the case and you tend to be hunched forward, see if you can exaggerate the opposite direction so that your neck is more in alignment. Next, begin to extend your arms overhead. And then exhale to your right, a crescent pose. Coming to neutral. And then exhale to your left for crescent. And coming to neutral. We're going to come into cow pose from here. This is going to be that interlocking from behind your back. And this is going to open up your shoulders. You can also use a rag to assist if your hands can't touch. So inhale to extend your arm and see if you can grasp with the rag to kind of open up your shoulders. See if you can breathe through this. And then exhale to release, maybe swaying side to side. And we're going to come to the opposite side. Inhale to extend your left arm overhead. You might notice there's a difference on opening on each side. And then working your hands together, open up your shoulder blades. And then letting that go. Maybe swaying side to side, seeing how that feels. And next we're going to come into some more of the activating side of our practice. Inhaling your arms overhead. Then exhale your hands to your third eye, your brow center. And think about an intention that you might set for yourself for this practice or this lunar cycle. And then next, bring your palms to your heart center. This is your sun center. This is the activating energy. We're going to collectively chant Om together. So if you'd like to join me, you may, on the exhale, completely exhale your breath. Inhale for Om. Exhale to come to a forward fold. Inhale to extend your heart forward. And then on the exhale, step your right foot back and then placing your right knee down on the mat. Inhaling your arms overhead. And next, you're going to place your palms in the inside of your left foot and begin to work your left foot towards the side of your mat. And we're going to come into a lizard pose from here. So you can stay upright on your palms. This is one landing place. Or you can come onto your forearms. This is going to give you more of a hip stretch. Starting to open up your left hip socket. You can always come back up onto your palms. Or if you would like more of a challenge, you can come into monkey tail from here by bringing your foot towards your hip and reaching for their foot. This is going to give you a quad stretch. If you're in monkey tail, releasing that. And coming up onto your palms and finding downward facing dog. Just checking in with yourself, sensing where you're at right now. Maybe noticing the difference between your hips. Inhale to look forward, bending your knees, and step or hop towards the front of your mat. Inhaling your heart forward. Exhale to fold. Inhale to rise. Exhaling hands to heart. And then coming to a forward fold. Inhale your heart forward. And stepping your left foot back behind you and begin to place your left knee down on the mat. Inhaling your arms overhead. Seeing if you can find a neutral pelvis. And next, we're going to place our palms on the inside of our right foot and begin to walk it over towards the side of your mat. Staying here with your palms on the mat, or you can come down to your forearms. Starting to open up the right hip. And if you're choosing monkey tail, go ahead and reach for that left foot. And then releasing. And wherever you're at, coming into downward facing dog from here. And inhaling to look forward, bending your knees, and step or hop towards the front of your mat. Inhaling your heart forward. Exhale to fold. Inhale, rise to stand. Right away, coming to a forward fold. Inhaling your heart forward. And exhale to step your feet to plank pose. And we're going to engage through our core. We're going to hold for 5 full breaths. Using your breath to pace yourself. Really engaging that Uddiyana Bandha. On the last exhale, begin to slowly lower to your mat. And then coming to the tops of your feet. And engaging through your legs, activating through your core. We're going to come into a baby cobra pose from here. Begin to lift your chest, extending your neck long. As you're lifting, you're mindful that you're extending your neck in a lengthened position. Exhale to lower to your mat. We're going to come up into Cobra pose one more time. You can play with different hand placements, maybe coming up onto your fingertips if that feels good. You can create more of a lift if you'd like, maybe finding some movement if that feels good. And exhale to release. And finding your way to downward facing dog from here. We're going to do some activating warm up from here. If you'd like to join me, what we're going to do is we're going to come into an inhale, squatting position. And as you exhale, you're going to shoot forward into plank. And we're going to do this 10 times. You can always stay in child's pose, or you can stay in downward facing dog, yogi's choice. Inhale, exhale. On the last exhale, coming back to downward facing dog. And then begin to bend your knees, looking forward, and step or hop towards the front of your mat. Inhaling your heart forward. Exhale to fold. Inhaling your arms overhead. Exhaling hands to heart. So we're going to come into the sun salutation B pose. So we're going to start to come into a chair pose, pretending we're sitting back in that imaginary chair. Engaging through your thighs. And if it feels good and you want to increase the load, begin to extend your arms overhead. We're going to come into drinking bird. As you exhale, coming down to your toes and begin to extend your arms behind you. On the inhale, extending your arms overhead into chair. Exhaling back for drinking bird. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. On the last exhale, hold to drinking bird. And then exhaling again forward. Inhaling to lift your heart. And exhale to step to plank and hold. Exhale to slowly lower to your mat. And we're going to come into locust pose from here. This time extending your arms behind you and begin to lift through your thighs and lifting through your chest. And if you'd like to come into bow pose, you can grab your feet to create more of a leverage and lift through your chest, making sure that you're extending your neck long. Exhale to lower. And finding your way to downward facing dog from here. And then inhale to extend your right leg long behind you. Exhale to curl your knee in toward your chest. Inhale to extend your left leg long, your right leg long. And then exhaling, knee to elbow. Inhale to extend. And then exhale, knee to opposite elbow. Inhale to extend. On the exhale, begin to step your feet towards your palms. Inhale, rise to stand. High lunge. On the exhale, begin to bring your knee towards your mat, cactusing your arms. Inhaling to extend your arms overhead. We're going to come into warrior 3 from here. So think about anchoring through your right foot. When you're ready, creating that lift and finding your way to warrior 3. Then if you can find a neutral pelvis, on the exhale, lightly tapping back on your back foot. We're going to come into warrior 1 from here. And next, finding warrior 2, you might need to widen your stance, engaging through your feet, your strong legs, and your core. Think about that activating warrior energy of Aries. The sun and the moon joining in the night sky. As you exhale to reverse your warrior. And next, we're going to come into extended side angle from here. See if you can find a line all the way from your ankle through your fingertips. We're rotating your torso so that it's towards the ceiling. And if you'd like, you can take a bind from here. Looking up to the ceiling, using your breath. And if you're in your bind, releasing, and we're going to cartwheel our palms towards the mat and finding your transition to downward facing dog. If you'd like to take a vinyasa. We'll be here in downward facing dog for 3 full breaths. Using this time to check where you're at. Recenter. On the next inhale, bending your knees, looking forward, and step or hop towards the front of your mat. Inhaling your heart forward. Exhale to fold. Coming into chair pose from here. Inhale to rise to stand. So we're going to do everything we just did on the opposite side. Coming into your imaginary chair pose from here. Then transitioning to drinking bird on the exhale, extending your arms behind you. Inhaling your arms overhead. Exhale. Using your breath to guide your pace. And on the last exhale, hold. And then coming into forward fold. Inhaling your heart forward and stepping to plank. You can take a vinyasa from here, or you can find any transition to downward facing dog if you'd like to take bow or lizard or cobra, any variation. Meeting me in downward facing dog. So extending your left leg long behind you. Exhale to curl your knee into your chest. Inhale to extend. Exhale, knee to elbow. Inhale to extend. Exhale, knee to opposite elbow. Inhale to extend. And then exhale, begin to bring your foot in towards your palms. Inhale, rise to stand for high lunge. As you exhale, begin to bring your knee in towards your mat, practicing your arms. Inhale for high lunge. And we're going to transition to warrior 3 from here. Finding any arm position that feels comfortable. And then to come out, lightly tap your foot back. And finding warrior 1 from here. And transition to warrior 2, you might need to extend your stance so that you have engagement through all 4 corners of your feet. And it's thinking about your hip alignment, engaging through your Uddiyana Bandha, broadening through your chest. Sensing that boldness of the warrior energy that's activating that individuality within that collective of humanitarian values of Aquarius. What is in alignment with your values and what are you willing to fight for or voice? As you're ready to own those parts of yourself that need equality and justice and liberation. You're setting examples for the collective by tuning the vibration of your own vehicle and learning to trust your voice. Exhale to come into reverse warrior. And coming into extended side angle from here. And if you'd like to take a bind, you can do so now. See if you can sense that line all the way from your ankle up through your torso. So you're breathing through your side body and your chest is rotating up through the ceiling. If you're in the bind, go ahead and release and cartwheeling your palms toward your mat and finding your way to downward facing dog. We'll be here for 3 full breaths. Using this time to tune in with yourself. What is the quality of your breath? What is the frequency of your vibration? Inhaling to look forward, bending your knees and step or hop towards the front of your mat. Inhaling your heart forward. Exhale to fold. And then coming into chair pose from here. Inhale, rise to stand. So we've just completed the sun salutation, the activating side of our sun center. And we're about to come into a peak pose. And before that, we're going to do some warm-ups with our stabilizing through our legs. So we're going to come into a big toe pose. And so we're going to anchor through your right foot and start to lift through your right knee. And then we're going to bring our left knee up and then begin to grab towards your big toe. And then extending your foot out straight Maybe find a vantage point on the ground as your point of focus as you stabilize through your breath. This is your drishti. This is your direction and focus. If you feel stable here, then you can bring your leg out to the side. Using your breath to stabilize. And then releasing. We're going to do everything we just did on the other side. Stabilizing through your left foot. Anchoring and begin to lift your right knee up. And then grabbing towards your big toe. Extending your foot out. Finding your drishti, your vantage point, your focus. Stabilizing through your breath. And then extending your foot out to the side. And then releasing. So now we're going to come into our peak pose. This is bird of paradise. And at any point is a stopping point. And I'm just going to show you all the components that we're going to put together to get to that final pose. And a lot of the warm-ups and the joints and the components that we've done so far have got prepared us to be ready. But as you start to string the movements together, this is going to give you the concept of what we're going towards. Stop at any of these points and just try to visualize what this would feel like in your body. As your body's prepared to move to that next step, use your breath as that guide. So we're going to start out coming into a warrior position. We're going to come in, we're just going to step back into warrior two. And then next, we're going to reverse that warrior. And then coming into extended side angle from here. And then if you are practicing your bind, you can take your bind. So this bind is going to be that structure of the main pose. And then we're going to bring our gaze down to the ground, and we're going to start to step our feet together. So this is a good stopping point from here. Next, we're going to start to create some lift. And so we're going to anchor through the right foot. And then find that stability through the leg and just kind of sense what that is to start to take the weight off the left foot. And then as you start to lift, finding your focus, your drishti point, and using your breath to find stability. This is another good stopping point. And the last component of the pose is extending that leg. This is your final pose. And then coming out of it exactly how you came in. So coming back to your extended side angle in that bind. And then releasing. And taking a vinyasa. Or just meeting in downward facing dog. Inhaling your heart forward. Exhale to fold. So that is the bird of paradise. So we're going to do everything we just did on the other side. Coming into your warrior two. Think of that willful, vibrant energy activating the voice of the collective through your own individuality. Exhaling to reverse your warrior. And then coming into your extended side angle. This is a stopping point as well. Or if you'd like to take a bind, this practice in your bind is a good place. Using your breath to really check in with where you're at in your practice. You're starting to build those neural connections and that map. You're really exploring the spaces inside as it mirrors what's going on in the universe. And if you're transitioning to any point of that bird of paradise, bring your gaze towards your mat and start to bring your feet together. And you're going to stabilize through your left foot, anchoring, finding your drishti, your focus, using your breath as you begin to raise up. Again, finding your focus. And if you're taking that last step, extending your leg out, maybe using that bind to find more stability. This is your bird of paradise. Coming out exactly as you came in. And then coming into your extended side angle. And maybe coming to a vinyasa to exit. Or meeting me in downward facing dog. And finding your way to the front of your mat. Bending your heart long. And exhale to fold. And then rise to stand. Good work. So now that we've done all the activating sun energy, we're going to start to wind down to more of the receptive moon lunar current. Really mindful of our intentions that we're setting, thinking about the present moment and having feelings of gratitude. This is going to help manifest. So I'm going to start out at the top of my mat. Inhaling your arms overhead. Exhale to your right for crescent. Inhale for neutral. Exhale to your left for crescent. Inhale for neutral. And then on the exhale, begin to step your left foot wide along your mat, extending your arms wide. This is your full moon expression. This is star pose. Think about that full reflective energy, the moon and the sun. Exhaling for goddess. Inhale for star. Next, we're going to start to wane our moon. So begin to reach your left arm long, maybe extending your hip the opposite direction. And when you have as much reach as you can, we're going to go to triangle pose. This is your gibbous phase of the moon. Your moon is slightly smaller. Next, we're going to wane our moon a little bit more, and we're going to come into pyramid pose. So begin to pivot your hips towards the front of your mat, maybe hopping that back foot in. Inhale to extend your spine long, and as you exhale, begin to hinge from your hips, maybe bending that front knee if you have tight hamstrings. See if you can come into an extended spine, and maybe placing your palms down. your fingertips. This is going to give you an intense thigh stretch. So you might need to create a little more bend to that knee to alleviate any strain. Next, we're going to come into the quarter moon expression, placing that back knee down on the mat. Inhaling your arms overhead. Finding a neutral pelvis. And next, we're going to find that crescent phase of the moon, coming to the left side of your mat and extending that right leg and finding whatever hand placement feels good for surfer pose or skandasana. Your moon is a slight sliver in the night sky. And now we're approaching our new moon, coming to the center of your mat for a malasana squat. This is where the cycle begins again. And this is where your mind and your intentions, your alignment with your values, your goals, your hopes, your aspirations, your joys. Think about what you would like to manifest in this next cycle, thinking of it as in the now. Embodying the feelings of gratitude brings these experiences to us as if it's already occurring. We're planting the seeds for the new. Breathe into this space and visualize yourself completing, moving towards success, towards the relationships that bring harmony and joy. The feeling of giving and receiving in cooperation, in harmony. And having the courage to ask for what you need, desire, and deserve. And next, we're going to begin to come into the crescent phase. We're going to begin to wax our moon as our moon is starting to get a little bit of light. We're going to skandasana to the other side. Our intentions are taking seed. They already exist in the archetypal world, and we're manifesting them in the physical. We're starting to see those ideas take sprout. Next, coming to that quarter moon expression. Inhaling your arms overhead, finding that neutral pelvis. Starting to gain more confidence. And next, we're going to come into the pyramid from the ground up, popping that back foot in, finding your extended spine. As the ideas are taking ground and activities beginning. Maybe you're starting to reap some of the rewards of your intentions. And next, we're going to call into that gibbous phase of the moon. We're going to hop that back foot out even further and finding pyramid from the ground up, dialing that arm up like a clock striking midnight, engaging through your strong core. Your will is fully engaged, committed to your intentions as they've already manifested. And next, we're going to find our full moon expression, mindfully coming up into star pose and releasing all the energy and the vitality of that cycle. coming into goddess and star. So how did that feel? We're going to do everything we just did on the opposite side. Extending your arms overhead, exhaling to your right for crescent. Inhaling for center. Exhale to your left for crescent. Inhale for center. As you exhale, step your right foot wide along your mat for your star pose, your full moon expression. Exhale for goddess. Inhale for star. Next, we're going to move to that gibbous phase of the moon, extending your right arm long, bringing your left hip back when you have as much extension as you can get, finding your triangle pose. As your moon is getting smaller. And next, we're going to find pyramid pose. Begin to pivot your hips towards the other side of your mat, hopping that back foot in and finding a bend to that front knee. Inhale to extend your spine. Exhale to hinge from your hips. Maybe placing your fingertips on the mat as your moon is continuing to get smaller. And next, placing your back knee on the mat to find your quarter moon expression. Inhaling your arms overhead, finding that neutral pelvis. And next, shifting to your right for Skandasana. This is your crescent phase. Finding that arm placement that feels nice. As you're looking to start that new cycle, moving to that new moon, shifting to the center of your mat for Malasana squat. This is another cycle to begin the intentions. Aligning your values with your desires in the present moment with feelings of gratitude. This is the practice of tuning to your vibration and your heart and taking the time to receive and listen. So we're going to start to bring our ideas from the archetypal world into the manifest, finding your Skandasana, your surface pose on the left side. And then next, coming to that quarter moon expression. Inhaling your arms overhead. Finding your neutral pelvis. Finding excitement as your ideas are starting to form. Your cells are waking up. And next, coming to pyramid from the ground up, hopping that back foot in. Seeing if you can find a neutral spine. Maybe creating more of a bend to the front knee to alleviate tension on the hamstring. And next, we're going to find our gibbous phase of the moon. We're going to find triangle from the ground up, popping that back foot out and bringing that arm up like a clock striking midnight. Then engaging through your core. Your moon is almost full. The cycle is almost complete. And next, finding your full moon expression, mindfully coming up into star position, releasing the emotions of a completed cycle. Exhale for goddess. Inhale for star. And next, we're going to wind down our practice. We're going to come in into a wide leg forward fold, hinging from your hips, and begin to place your palms underneath your shoulders. We're going to come into a twist from here, placing your left palm underneath your nose. Inhale to extend your arm overhead, finding your twist. Exhale to release, placing your right palm underneath your nose, and then inhaling your left arm overhead for your twist. Exhale to release. And begin to extend your arms out for downward facing dog arms. And then coming the opposite direction toward your feet so that your neck can hang long for this gentle inversion. And next, placing your palms underneath your shoulders. We're going to start to come up into standing pose, maybe placing your palms onto your hips and then hinging up. Exhale to hop your feet together and start to come down onto your mats into a malasana squat. And then just coming down to your mat any way you can find yourself. And start to create space so that your pelvis can meet the mat, maybe pulling the flesh out from underneath. We're going to come into a seated forward fold from here, inhaling your arms overhead. Exhale to extend and hinge from your hips. It's to fold forward. And then on the inhale, we're going to be extending, and then the exhale, hinging. We're going to repeat this motion until we have as much extension as you can get. And then you can begin to fold over. And then coming up to release. And we're going to come into a twist by placing your right foot over your left knee, and then kickstanding your right arm behind you. Inhale your left arm overhead. And as you exhale, begin to hook your left elbow to your right knee, extending your spine, and then looking towards your right shoulder. Thinking about releasing toxins, like a sponge is the analogy of a sponge, and your organs are cleansing as you're twisting and squeezing through your breath. Exhale to release. And we're going to come to that twist on the other side. Begin to bring your left knee around your left ankle around your right knee. Kickstanding that left arm behind you. Inhaling your right arm overhead. As you exhale, hinge that right elbow towards your left knee. Inhale to extend. Exhale to twist, looking towards your left shoulder. Finding an extension and a twist. And think about your organs twisting kind of like a sponge, is releasing as you're squeezing with the exhale. Exhale to release. And now we're going to come into boat pose from here. To think about shifting back onto your hips and then bringing your feet up. And you can stay here with bent knees, or you can start to come to more straightened legs. You can keep your arms and your hands close to your body for more If you would like more leverage, you can release, and this is going to activate your core. We're going to be here for 10 full breaths, using your breath to stabilize. You've got this. And shaking is a good sign that you're activating, using your breath. You've got this. And exhale to release. Coming into butterfly pose, maybe giving yourself a foot massage. We're going to come into this one more time. So when you're ready, shifting back to boat pose, Navasana. Using your breath to anchor you. Exhale to release. So we're going to start to come down onto our mats, keeping your knees bent. And coming down to your mat one vertebrae at a time. And start to bring your feet so that you can graze them with your fingertips. We're going to come into bridge pose from here. So think about anchoring through your feet, and the weight is going to be onto your shoulders. So as you're ready to create your lift, anchoring through your feet and begin to lift your hips, engaging through your thighs, lifting your heart. As the weight is resting on your shoulders and the back of your head. And exhale to release. We're going to come up into bridge pose one more time. When you're ready, anchoring through your feet, engaging to lift your hips, your strong thighs. And if you'd like, you can clasp your hands. And this is going to give you more of a leverage, and the weight is going to come onto your arms. You might create more lift through your heart. Exhale to release. And begin to draw your knees in toward your chest. Be rocking side to side, giving yourself a low back massage. Now we're going to come into reclined pigeon pose from here. So begin to bring your knees up at 90 degrees and take your right ankle and place it over your left knee in a figure 4. This is going to create a stretch through your right hip socket. You can weave your arms so that they're underneath your thigh or your knee, and you can create as much leverage as you'd like. Use your breath to breathe into your hips. And then exhale to release. And then we're going to place your left ankle over your right knee and threading your hands underneath your knee or your thigh to create that leverage that you need to breathe through your left hip socket. And exhale to release. But before we prepare to come into our final relaxation pose, take any final poses that you might need to complete your practice, maybe happy baby or recline side, recline twists, taking whatever you need to seal off your practice. And when you're ready, coming into your final relaxation pose, Shavasana, or you can come into a seated meditation. This is your time to reap the benefits of your practice through the receiving, through the act of doing nothing. Most of the work is done. As your neural connections are realigning, new networks through this phase of recovery. Your cells know what it needs to renew and regenerate as you continue to release and let go with each exhale, just dropping into this space of receiving, just allowing, sensing, and being. Just allowing yourself to drift wherever you need to go. A space of invitation. Just allowing and receiving. I'm going to complete our practice with a verse from the Tao Te Ching. If you want to become whole, let yourself be partial. If you want to become straight, let yourself be crooked. If you want to become full, let yourself be empty. If you want to be reborn, let yourself die. If you want to be given everything, give everything up. The master, by residing in the Tao, sets an example for all beings. Because they don't display themselves, people can see their light. because they have nothing to prove. People can trust their words because they don't know who they are. People recognize themselves in them because they have no goal in mind. Everything they do succeeds. When the ancient masters said, if you want to be given everything, give everything up, they weren't using empty phrases. Only in being lived by the Tao can you be truly yourself. As you prepare to meet the rest of your day, begin to deepen your breath. Maybe finding some small movements by wiggling your fingers and your toes. And finding some stretches as you begin to activate. And as you feel called, meeting me in seated position. And bringing your palms to heart center. Remembering that intention that you set for your practice today. And at this time of the new moon is a powerful time to activate through the next cycle. Powerful time for manifestation. Thank yourself for your commitment to your practice. And as you fill your own cup, you're able to pour it into others. The teacher in me honors and sees the teacher in all of you. Thank you.